so far there was little bit of uncertainty in the market on what the decision will be. And for economics and for investment climate, uncertainty is not good. So I think in a way it is good. Decision has been taken now. We like it or not, decision is announced, and then now uncertainty is over. And now the Britain and the government and the operators can really start to deploy 5G for the benefit of consumer industries, enterprises, and the larger society. Because I think post-COVID, one thing is certain, that technology is the only driver to do a faster recovery. And the importance of connectivity and the networks has become even more national critical infrastructure now during COVID time. So this uncertainty will eliminate all those uncertainty with business climate. Prior to this, 2017, one of the operator made a decision to swap out the London network. And you and I both live in London. I have not seen any blackout in London, while we have done the swap out with that operator for one particular vendor in London. So Ericsson, I mean, look, I'm an engineer also. It's impossible to justify any blackout when this is a national critical infrastructure. So technology is mature, capabilities mature, and irrespective of time frame, even if we have to swap, for example, I keep coming back to Denmark, which is my favorite country. We are swapping the whole nation, even though it's much, much smaller than UK, but still the whole nation swap out in 10 months. And I don't expect any blackout in that country either. I cannot speculate what other countries will do or not do. We are used to competing in 180 countries. So we are not afraid of competing with anyone based on our technology leadership, our cost competitiveness, and local presence. Then when it comes to retaliation from China, again, I cannot speculate, but we have a supply chain where over last few years we have diversified supply chains. So our dependency on one single country is very minimal.
Immediate reaction from China is going to be pretty incandescent. They're going to be very, very angry about the reversal of the Huawei decision, not just because of the decision itself, but because in a sense it has made them lose face. Having said yes back in January, the British government has now done a pretty exact U-turn and said absolutely no. And I think that China will be made to feel as if it's been made essentially to suffer the consequences of that U-turn in public. So the immediate rhetoric, I think, will be angry. To talk about whether or not China will retaliate. I actually am not convinced that this is necessarily going to be the case, because what's been talked about is consequences, and that's a slightly different word. I think that what that might mean in practice is essentially a slowdown of a particular flow that we've seen over the last few years and even decades, which is Chinese investment in various UK projects. HS2, which is a high-speed train project the government is very keen on, could be a good example of that. One other thing that we've seen, if you look at the reactions over months and years rather than over hours and days, is that China tends to be very pragmatic about where it can make money. Right now, its economy is running at, say 20% less than it was this time a year ago, and therefore passing up economic opportunities that might be advantageous to China over the long term is something I think they won't want to do. So I think you might want to separate what happens with the rhetoric and what happens in reality.